I do not like Trivium. Yes, that's right, I'm that guy, and we've been over this quite a bit now. However, a few weeks ago, I gave you guys the opportunity to suggest a song for me to react to in order to get me into this band. And you guys chose the song Rain from the Ascendancy album, so I reacted to that just over a week ago now. My general conclusion, which a lot of you guys actually agreed with me on, was that musically it's all very technical and impressive for the most part. However, it's the vocals that don't particularly hook me in, unlike with another band that I've talked about copiously at this point. Also, I did find a little bit of production snobbery started to creep in for me, as that album is pretty early on in the band's career and it does sound a little bit unrefined to me. However, you guys have affirmed me that this band do get better the more you progress through the albums and the more you listen to them. So again, I asked you guys to give me what you would consider to be a peak Trivium song to react to, and you guys said, look no further than Shogun.
Mitsubishi likes to see its Shogun as the original large 4x4.
No, not that. The album. So yes, there were a lot of requests this time. However, one song did come out on top, and that is... Hang on, I need to read my script for this. I'm sorry. Kirisute Gomen. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Kirisute Gomen.
Kirisute Gomen. Kirisute Gomen. There you go, that's better. So yes, that's the song we're going to be reacting today, and that's the song that you guys have chosen. So, here we go again. This is your chance to show me what this band can do. This is Kirisute Gomen, I think. I have no idea what has happened to my camera at this point in the video. It kind of goes in and out a little bit, so hopefully it doesn't ruin the video too much. And yeah, just bear with me on that one, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the reaction. Okay, so coming right out the gate there with the acoustic intro, and I believe this is the first track on the record. So, you know, it's following that sort of fight fire with fire battery sort of formula that we've seen from Metallica and other bands like that, which always makes for, you know, a good sort of album opener, you know, starting things nice and quiet and then building it up. Provided this song does build up. I don't know, at this point it just could be a straight acoustic song, but I doubt that. Chordally, what I'm hearing is an E minor thing, right? Something like that, E minor to C major. However, the secret sauce on that one that makes it so effective is that next chord that he moves to, which is that B major. Now, usually in this key of E minor, that B chord would be a minor chord. Okay? But if you listen to it, you know, if I do... The B minor doesn't have as much impact, so what they do is they swap it out to a major chord rather than a minor. There's your C major, and then there's your major or B major chord right there, which gives a real sense of sort of you know, a darker vibe and kind of like a more classical sort of vibes. If you don't know what the harmonic minor scale is, by the way, it's basically just a minor natural scale, but it's got a raised 7th degree or a major 7, right? There it is, 7th note. And that's what gives it that sort of vampires and castles and dragons sort of vibe. So it certainly suits the band, certainly suits the metal genre as a whole, because everybody's done it at this point. Oh. So that riff right there, you know, starting on the root, we're still in E minor at this point, but then moving over to that sort of raised 7th degree. It kind of, again, it maintains that harmonic minor idea, and then... And I have it on good authority as well that these guys are on 7 strings at this point. Correct me if I'm wrong here. So it's interesting that we've started off in the key of E minor. So I'm wondering, you know, are they going to switch over to B minor at some point? So I'm wondering if that B chord that they're landing on could be the link to switching over to parallel key into B minor. Who knows? But either way, it's nice and refreshing to hear, you know, a standard tuning, quote unquote, at this point, idea for like a metalcore band or whatever. Okay, so yeah, automatically this song is a little bit more interesting to me than Rain was. Rain was good and everything, but this sounds like they've progressed. The production sounds wider. You know, there's big guitars on the left and the right there. You can really hear how wide everything is, and it's roping me in a little bit more, and it's making me more curious. And I think, you know, that's the key for me with music. It's not a case of just like, oh, well, I don't like it. You know, the reason why I'm doing Trivium is, you know, I'm intrigued to see what it is that people enjoy about them and see if I can find, you know, some common ground. And already, you know, I'm roped in by this. I'm intrigued by it. I love how the octave chords are moving over each other. I like the melodies. I like the use of harmonic minor. So yeah, fair play. You have my curiosity. Now you guys have my attention. Okay, so coming right in with the minor thirds there. That's essentially battery, right? You know, and again, it keeps with the harmonic minor idea. You know, going from the E minor to the B major. That's the sound. That was interesting as well, because I believe, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, because I'm not quite a connoisseur of this band, as you know. I believe that on the album before this, there was an album in between, Ascendancy and this one. And I believe on the album before this, Matt Heffy didn't do any screaming. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe this one was kind of like a return to the original idea of what the band was supposed to be or whatever. So I'll be interested to see at this point how his vocals have improved. But, you know, that big sort of, whatever he said, like coming in then, it made an impact. Oh, there it is. Right, this is good. Finally, we found something. Right, okay. Yeah, this is interesting. I'm sorry I keep hitting I keep stopping the song, but there's so much to talk about here, and I'm not going to remember it all at the end if I do a straight listen. Right, so, first case in point, just because you have a 7-string guitar doesn't necessarily mean that everything needs to just be dun, 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 dun. On that bottom 7th string, they're still in the key of E minor at this point, which means they'll be going off of the 6th string, right? But they're using that 7th string for like a lower dynamic within the key rather than just constantly going digga-dun, digga-dun, digga-dun on that low B string. At least to my ears anyway. Let me just double check that we're still in E minor. I think we are. Yeah, we are. There you go. There's a takeaway right away. You know what I mean? Just because you've got the power of that low B string on a 7 string, it doesn't necessarily mean that every song needs to, you know, have that as the root note, if you like. You know, like the majority of the riffs are kind of sort of paddling off of the 6th string now, I guess. That E note. When he's moving down, you know, for those lower sort of trem notes and stuff like that on the B string, as it sounds to me, those lower notes, it really gives the song that sense of dynamics. There you go, that's the word I'm looking for. So yeah, this is cool. Okay, this is good. Well done, guys. I dig this. This is cool. Because bear in mind, before Bullet My Valentine and all that stuff that I'm into, you know, there was Metallica, you know, and that sort of stuff. And, you know, I'm a huge Metallica fan, and I'm hearing the Metallica influences here in the riffs and stuff like that. Doesn't sound like they're following the crowd here with this either. Whatever, you know, what was this, 2008? Am I right? Or around that time? I don't know. This feels like they were just doing their own thing, which is good. You know, they weren't following sort of what everybody else was doing at the time, which was drop C and da-da-dun, da-da-dun, just following kick patterns, right? All they want is to free. What an incompetent song I know is greed. For the last return, righteous right to the skies. I can see in their eyes, they've already died. Inside, but it's on the outside. We'll take their fucking heads. We can spend with. So next, I kind of want to pick this apart lyrically, which is something that I didn't do with the last one. I also just want to have a little bit of a look at sort of like the idea going into this album. You know, if you look at the cover art and stuff like that, it's drastically different from the Ascendancy thing. You know, we've got that sort of like Japanese influence in there. And there's a quote here from Matt Heffy about the album, which says, "The reason we picked this word," which I guess is Shogun, is because when you think of a word like Shogun, it sparks the idea of the Mitsubishi truck.
Though fine on major routes, the ride is pretty unsettled on poorer surfaces.
Okay, that's not funny anymore. Anyway, it sparks all this vivid imagery and storytelling, especially when you look into the definition. It's the highest ranking military general in Japanese times. We really dug it, and we felt it was an appropriate name for the album. So again, we're getting into this whole sort of storytelling idea with this band, and one of the turnoffs for me in the past has been the lyrics and stuff like that. I like songs that I can relate to, and as well, you've got to think of it in terms of when I was younger getting into these bands, okay? Not just now at 32 years of age, yeah. When I was younger, you know, and I don't know, you know how it is when you're a young man and you're a teenager, and you know, it's you against the world and stuff like that. You know, lyrically, these songs didn't really sort of speak to me. You know, and then you combine that with the vocals, which we talked about in the last video, which didn't really do it for me either. The two things just kind of, you know, I couldn't relate to castles and dragons and riding into battle on a horse and stuff like that. You know, I'm sure there's a little bit more depth to it, because, you know, Matt Heffy is really into his Japanese culture and his heritage and stuff like that. So I just want to see lyrically what he's got here. So he who walks the fire breathes, unlike the rest, living in the bloody creed. Air of battle, tasting stale, reeks of deceit, send the bitter straight to hell. So again, you know, this was kind of where the switch off for me was. It's very sort of ride into battle and stuff like that. You know, this is kind of metaphorical in a way for where the band was at, you know. I don't really know where the band were at this point, but I know they got a lot of hate back in the day and a lot of naysayers and stuff like that. So this just kind of does seem like to me, as I'm going through some of these lyrics, that, you know, it's kind of like a metaphor almost for screw it, we're coming in guns blazing and we don't care, and we're going to sort of like take this by the throat, as it were, and just carry on doing what we're doing. And maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too deep. Maybe it is just about killing people. I mean, that last line right there, I live by my own path in life, there's no turning back. You know, so you can sort of see the parallels there. Anything with trem picking and double bass, I'm already in. Like, trem picking's just, I mean, who doesn't like that, you know, whether it's like death metal or deathcore that you're into. Trem picking's just good. Vocals are considerably better, and that's going to be natural, you know what I mean? You know, people said in the comments on the Rain one, it's like, well, Heffy was just a kid and he didn't really know what he was doing. And yeah, that's the case for like loads of bands who were just sort of like thrown into it, and it's like, yeah, you got a record deal, and you know, you got to do shows and back to back, and you know, things like learning to sing properly sort of get put on the sideline and whatnot. What he's doing vocally suits the music this time, and with Rain, I just kind of felt like it was like, I'll just put some aggressive vocals on and jobs are good, and right. Whereas with this, the vocals are complementary of the music as a whole, right? You know, it's not, you know, he's not, still not 100% like, you know, like my favorite singer or anything like that. But again, it's nice to see progression. It's nice to see the work's been put in. Well, that's a bop, isn't it? Okay, chords again. They're going all out on the good old HM. No, it's got the good old it's got that good old raised 7. They've really gone all out on that idea for this song. You know, it's a reoccurring theme, and you know, the song. It's sad they you know, we've come from a very quiet intro into like a, you know, a big sort of melodic build up, if you like, and then it's kind of like all out thrash. So it feels kind of like, okay, it's chorus time. There was no sort of lead into that there. Let me backtrack a little bit. Well, it's made me smile, so. So that's a much better chorus than the last song. We talked in the last video about how it felt to me like Trivium has like these big epic riff parts and verses and stuff like that, but the chorus always seemed to like go down a little bit. Whereas with this chorus, things are going up, and it's gone into sort of like a good old, you know, bass, snare kind of upbeat rhythm. The chorus is definitely popping a lot more on this one. You know, again, not to, you know, not to hate on the band or anything. It's a different vibe to those big epic choruses, but this is definitely a crowd sort of sing-along chorus. So I imagine when they play this song live and that chorus just kind of does come out of nowhere. I can't believe there's no build up to that. It just kind of, the song does kind of like zigged where it was zagging, right? It just kind of takes a left turn, but yeah, gotta love those higher fret songs, right? Rather than sort of like pedaling between the fifth and the sixth string, just moving everything up onto the sixth. You know, whatever the heck the riff is. Okay, before we get to solos and stuff, I love that sort of swingy rhythm they've got there. Can I listen to that again? Yeah, vocals are mint there. Like, much better. Much better. Oh, one sec, guys. What are you doing? I'm reacting to Trivi.
You hate Trivium.
Yeah, but I thought I'd...
No, I get it. You're cashing in on this whole I hate Trivium thing just to get views, right?
But...
And then you're going to fill them all with false hope that you're actually going to get into this band and eventually do covers. You know they play 7 strings, right? And how did that pan out for you last time?
Well, that's not the...
And let's be honest, we both know that you can't keep up with those leads and rhythms. They're way ahead of you, bro.
Ouch.
I think it's best to stay in your lane, Bullet Boy. And are you forgetting something? Have you forgot to mention what this is actually all about?
Huh?
Oh, come on, that Bullet for My Valentine guitar lesson library thing that you sink literal hours into each week?
Oh, yeah, that.
Yes, that. And don't forget to tell them that there's a 40% discount over at your Patreon shop until the 27th of April. This might be fun and all, but your boy's gotta eat.
Okay.
Oh, and don't forget to tell him to hit the like button and subscribe too.
Well, to be fair, the guy does have a point. So I want to take a minute to mention my Bullet for My Valentine guitar lesson library. If you've fallen prey to bad Bullet for My Valentine tabs in the past and there's a bit of confusion there and you want to learn their songs properly, head over to my Bullet for My Valentine guitar lesson library, which is over on my Patreon page. This is my ever-growing series of Bullet for My Valentine guitar lessons where I break down all their songs and teach you all the guitar parts. Members of the library can also request what songs I do, so if you head on over there and you don't see the song that you want to learn, get yourself signed up, put your request in, and you'll get full priority on what I do. The lessons are also available for one-off purchase on my Patreon shop too, so you can just buy the lessons outright rather than signing up monthly if you prefer that. Members also get access to the isolated stems for each song that I do too, so that's guitars, bass, drums, and vocals, and you can make your own covers with that. Lastly, members also have access to my quick lesson series, which are more just general guitar lessons where I share my love of guitar theory and other things. As our lovely intruder mentioned earlier, I am holding a 40% sale over on my Patreon shop right now. All you need to do to get your 40% off is use the code TRIVIUM123, original, right? And use that at checkout, and then you'll get your 40% off all my lessons. Offer ends on the 27th of April. So yeah, this is 100% the best way that you can support what I do and this channel. So if you want some Bullet for My Valentine guitar lessons or just guitar lessons in general, head over to my Patreon page, head over to the Bullet for My Valentine guitar lesson library, and see what's over there. Okay. So I believe this is a trade-off. They do a lot of trade-offs in this band, right? You can tell me who's who, but I'm guessing maybe that's Heffy, and then Corey's going to come in later. It's a solo. I don't think I'm going to be picking this one apart. It just kind of sounds like minor natural / harmonic minor for the most part. Suits the purpose, but I will say it's definitely an improvement on the Rain solo. Let's put it that way. Yep, that's the harmonies. To be honest, I'm far more interested in the rhythms that are going on underneath. So yeah, I'm liking this sort of like swingy kind of idea that's going on. Gosh, that mean guy who came in was right. I could never keep up with this. That's the best part of the song. I mean, at this point, the only things that I can say are what I said in my last video, where it's like unbelievable rhythm chops there, super tight with the little triplet picks and stuff like that. Yeah, when it comes down to the musicality side of it, these guys are infallible. That's so funny. It's like we've got this chorus, but we just don't know how to get it in. So, you know, earlier it was just like, oh, we're doing this now. And then for that, it was just like, okay, how are we going to do it this time? Well, let's just stop the song dead and then we'll have it. And lyrically, just going back here, you know, it will never be what they want me to do. I live my own path in life, no turning back now. I won't be held down, forced into a shallow grave, built upon empty ways. Again, I live my own path in life, there's no turning back. So yeah, you know, coming out of the whole riding into battle and stuff, you can, you know, taking it literally, you can kind of see now how everything's sort of like coming full circle, perhaps metaphorically. You know, the naysayers and stuff like that, like me, who doesn't like Trivium. Although, yeah, maybe I am coming around at this point with this song anyway. That's something a little bit more personal. You know, this, you know, previously we've kind of had something that's very sort of storytelling in a way, and you know, it gives you lots of visuals. Do you know what I mean? To go alongside it, especially with like the Japanese culture and battles and stuff. But that last line, it's quite personal, you know, or rather that last verse or chorus, whatever it is, you know. And I think we can all relate to that. You know, I spoke earlier a little bit about how I could never relate to the lyrics and stuff. You know, maybe it was too dense for me. Maybe just because it wasn't, your tears don't fall. You know, it's just, I'm so sad. You know what I mean? Just because it wasn't like that right out of the gate. This causes you to look a little bit deeper. And yeah, you can definitely see, you know, there is meaning in there rather than I'm going to ride a horse and chop off everybody's heads. I live by my own path in life. I like that. Why didn't you guys just suggest this one first? Well, what was all that about, eh? You've all really shown me up there, haven't you? You could have saved me hours of editing that last video if you'd have just suggested this one first, right? But no, I'm kidding. That was better. That was fun. That sounded better. You know, the production was there. The musical progression was there. So yeah, I guess I've spoke at length about what I've, you know, enjoyed about this song during the duration that we've listened to it. But what I liked about it is it kept me guessing. There was lots of left turns, you know, that little chorus coming out of nowhere. Not, you know, my favorite chorus I've ever heard, but you know, as far as like you know, the vibe of the song and the idea of live shows and stuff like that goes, it's a very sort of chanty kind of bouncy chorus, which kind of works, you know. The solo section was really good. I was far more interested in what the rhythm guitars were doing, because there was a constant sort of like push and pull that was happening, and you know, in order to have those guitar solos be effective, you need a solid foundation. You know what I mean? In order to paint over, if you like, in order to have that push and pull and that back and forth. You might be the most technically proficient guitar player on the planet. A guitar solo, no matter how good it is, without a good rhythm section underneath, is like trying to paint without a canvas. You know, you might have all these lovely colors, you know, like Bob Ross, you know? And it's meaningless unless you've got a good canvas to paint on, right? Vocally, it's a massive step up for Matt Heffy on this album, or what I've heard of it so far. I already mentioned this, but I really like the fact that just because they're on a 7 string and they got like that low B string, you know, that song's an E minor and he's not just constantly going gun, gun, gun off of that bottom string. And I'm sure, you know, there are songs where they do that, but it's just a nice, fresh take on it. On a standard tune guitar, you know, you can't go any lower than that, you know, so they've gone with that idea, but then they've used the low B string to really go down to the lower register, and when they do, it's more effective rather than having the song just being this constant da 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 da, you know, this low sort of register right the way through. So yeah, dynamic and fun are my 2 words. So yeah, this has been a great suggestion, and I want you guys to keep these coming. This is a lot of fun for me to do. I'm really excited about this now. Am I a diehard Trivium fan at this point? Absolutely not. I've heard like 3 songs, and I'm not saying that, you know, I'm gonna go all out on this band now, you know, and that they're gonna be like my favorite thing, but I've definitely got a newfound appreciation for them through this song, and you guys have made that happen. And you guys inspire me to keep making videos, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to hear from you guys what you want me to hear next, so please leave your suggestions down in the comments, or maybe I'll open up another community post like I did in the last one, and you guys can vote for what I do next. But yeah, you guys will see that when that goes out. So in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. Be sure to check out my Bullet of My Valentine guitar lesson library if you want to support the channel that way. And yeah, I guess that's been the video. So this has been lots of fun. You guys have been great with your suggestions. Keep them coming. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.